you don't like it, then don't watch it. No, shut up. Do you even go here? If you do not like the movie, then do not watch it. If you do not like the art form, then do not participate in it. In other words, the thing you just criticized is infallible. Love it or list it. Wait, I have never been told this in person, but I have seen it get said, and I have had it said to me whilst online as I am at times. Come see, come saw.
I don't think that's what that means.
It is a popular argument because it is so easy to make. Quite frankly, it is lazy. Love it or leave it. Okay? Hello, my name is Gale, but you already know that. And then, if you somehow did not know that, then you should have. I mean, hello? Forget it, it's fine, I am fine. I have a roof atop my head, yet to collapse. I have food in the cupboard. I have my medication for my chronic fatigue, so I'm not left feeling endless lethargy regardless of how much sleep I get. Well, if you are watching this, then you have probably seen my other videos, which means that you are probably already constituent of the defiled. Ew. I mean, yeah? No, girl. That was the end of that. Anyway, I need more time to work out how to do the alien Earth reaction video without getting struck down by the encircled sea herself, so you will just have to take this pseudo-commentary video instead. I am so sorry to bother you. 2018, 7.5 out of 10. A surprisingly superbly hyperbolic social commentary filled only by the marketing team that they hired. It is not the worst trailer, but were I not watching every movie in cinemas that year, then I never would have thought to give it a chance, because it looked like every other boring and basic comedy, of which there were plenty, in the 2010s. Comedies aimed at culturally bereft millennial Tumblr refugees. Alright, yes, there are still millennials on Tumblr, and yes, I am too one of the foregoing refugees. But I, unlike my refugee counterparts, just logged off after Tumblr died instead of going to Twitter, because I don't like Twitter's user interface and I hate social media. Oh, right. So I do often come across instances wherein someone is, in response to another person, naturally retorting something along the lines of, and I am speaking generally here when I say this, wah, wah. If you do not like the thing you just ate, the thing you just watched, the place you just visited, the person you just met, the service you just used, or whatever it is you just experienced, then simply do not do the thing that led you to eat, watch, visit, meet, use, or do whatever it is you did to get yourself in a place where you interact with the thing you dislike. And of course, I have a problem with this line of dialogue, this line of thinking. I have no doubt that you know exactly what I'm talking about when I speak of this, even if I do use too many words to describe it, thus overcomplicating it. This begs the question. You know, the question. What is it? This kind of argument can be characterized in a number of ways in order to expose its composition's utter privation of reason. its logical senselessness, I am going to bring your attention to a few relevant misjudgments which are so commonly committed when reasoning or when debating that they were given names. Isn't that just grand? Give it up for nomination. Among many other things, I'm sure, this can be known in part as a false dilemma or something of a false dichotomy. Well, what are dichotomies and dilemmas, you may ask? Well, dilemmas are basically difficult situations wherein the conditions are such that you have to make a difficult choice, hence why I call this situation difficult, I guess. And then for dichotomies, let me actually reference the official definition because it is probably superior to my explanation. A dichotomy is a division into two mutually exclusive or contradictory groups or parts, or B, differentiation into two contrasted or sharply opposed groups. I only know what dichotomy means roughly because I remember learning about the dichotomous keys that scientists, in a manner of speaking, use to distinguish between animals by basically deciding upon criteria and then asking,
does this thing really work? Oh my god, I got so excited my brow.
does this animal really fit this criteria? And then you answer, mais oui, ou non. Pas du tout. An either-or type boolean, but unlike being trans, it is a choice. No, I do not want to hear it. Just stop hating on trans people. They already have it hard enough. And honestly, you should have something better to do with your time. It's a really good thing that I only have one recurring viewer. False dilemmas and false dichotomies are different things, but in both cases, the offending party is essentially simplifying matters in so suggesting that there are only two valid options here. Option A or option B. Ignoring all of the other choices that can be made, it is supposed to be reductive. They simplify things so you can arrive at their probably predetermined conclusion a lot sooner, because it is easier than actually developing a coherent thought. So you either have to accept and approve of something, or you need to exit the chat room, as if life out here atop real grass is anything like life in Discord. In other words, pick one of the two options I present, because it is convenient pour moi.
Hello, did you have a fun time? Ruski po.
I'm so sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, yes. So, if you make the mistake of answering such a question, then you necessarily, albeit involuntarily, agree to a categorical shift, thereby changing the topic of conversation from whatever it was before to a question of your belonging, I guess as a dissident, or a question of personal preference, or perhaps both. There's the suggestion that there is not enough space in the world for people with personal preferences different from what is popular, or just people with gripes about anything. Although 10% of homes in the United States are vacant, but no, there's not enough space for people who love to hate Aliens 1986 for how poorly it aged. Okay, Cupid.
We're a team and there's nothing to worry about. We come here and we're going to conquer and we're going to take some. That's what we're going to do, sweethearts. We are going to go and get some. Pull it out, goddammit! Get hot! 1, 2, 3, get out, get out, get out! 1, 2, 3, Absolutely badasses!
It is a fallacy of relevance, which just means that the response does not actually address the issue in question, but rather distracts from it. For again, the purpose of these logical fallacies, assuming that the person with whom you are quarreling is not well informed or particularly self-aware, is to reframe the issue from whatever it was initially to one of choice. The choice being whether to conform or not, whether to participate or not, whether to accept the status quo or not, etc. As you can imagine, this really can be related to a number of other ideas. For instance, you could argue that this is a variant of augmentum ad populum, or the appeal to consensus, because this retort is often uttered in response to criticism challenging general population's consensus, which is obviously ridiculous because the popular consensus, so the ideas visible from the Overton window, I suppose, are always being reshaped and reiterated as times change and through explicit and also implicit propaganda. Unfortunately, in our case, it is mostly propagandized hogwash, I'd say, informing people's choices to just challenge nothing but we who dare challenge anything at all. It is also easier to create problems for which you and or your cohorts have solutions, because solving problems you created on purpose, or solving problems you purposefully or unwittingly reinforce, even if you were just born into a family who just so happens to reinforce those issues, is easier than solving the ones already in existence. In other words, it is easier to manufacture scarcity as a person with the means to produce whatever it is that is exiguous or scarce. Look, your local politicians are not both starving the poor all the while running supermarkets. I am not suggesting that it is literally the same men or politicians starving people all the while working as executives at the supermarket chain or what have you. I'm not suggesting that the manager of your local Spar or Walmart or Aldi or Woolworths, Woolies or Whole Foods is doing all they can to make sure that the people who live around the shop are starved. Just don't take this literally. However, these politicians do tend to possess stock in the very businesses behind food production and distribution. So this is not a personal issue, but a systemic one. This is basically why you cannot look at the person criticizing something and then conclude that the individual just needs to clean up their act. If a movie is bad, then it is important that we establish what made it bad, because how else are we going to ensure that Predator Badlands never gets made again? No, but really, how are we going to ensure that? When I say that scarcity is being manufactured, I mean to imply that it is a class of people manufacturing it for their own benefit. The constituents of this class I am referencing do change, so people come and go. The habits of the group, however, or the habits of the group as a whole, do not change so frequently, at least not all that much. The group gets with the times, hence why they are able to maintain their hegemony. When we are told that we should avoid conflict to such an extent that we opt out of consuming art as soon as it falls out of favor with us, we are essentially being invalidated for having personal preferences, virtues, senses, et al. How dare we, right? How dare we feel especially us men. Let's think about what criticism is. It is defined as a number of things, but I'm going to pick the most relevant cherry in this cherry tree, so I will just cherry pick a definition. The definitions should remain mostly the same. The act of criticizing, usually unfavorably, with either an observation or a remark. This becomes a critique. When I call a movie like Predator Badlands exemplative of this tendency of studios to oversaturate their films with instances of comic relief without regard for why humor has been utilized by better movies during tense moments for the alleviation, or rather the regulation of tension in usually horror and thriller films, I'm basically saying that it is almost misusing the tropes. Misusing is not quite the right word because the implementation is technically correct some of the time, but the timing and oftentimes the very presence of comic relief, for instance, is just so inappropriate.
Is this better? Universal translation. You hear Yautja, others hear their language. Oh boy. How about a lift? Let's go. Excuse you, sir.
너가 있어 얘는 목숨 놓고
You seem smaller than the other Yautja. How old are you? And what does the chewing? Your outside fangs or your inside teeth? Oh. Oh! Whoa! I've never been thrown before. What a
When I call Predator Badlands a prototype for the state of humanity as it is now, a sad and rather pathetic collection of individuals who, as a group, resemble a self-flagellating adolescent who does and does not know better than to inundate itself, I am criticizing something very real. Something just about measurable. Humanity, in all its immaturity and cringe, has learnt to overstimulate itself by constantly construing, disseminating, and then consuming hyperactivistic, rich experiences, be they sights to see, fragrances on which to choke, tones and melodies at high volumes, perceptions of texture, of warmth, or perhaps even the lack thereof, or the presence or lack of pressure and or tastes or taste sensations. When I say this, I am telling you that I think that Predator Badlands is a movie that utilizes every movie trope with no regard for its intended purpose, or the history of it being the trope, as it pertains to cinema and whichever genre is relevant. They use these tropes to just push everything, every limit to its max, as though not making your movie a deluge of color, action, and anthropomorphized creatures to be turned into a line of toys, most likely, would be a bad financial decision. When I call Predator Badlands a piece of film and a waste of resources and computational power and the time of talented people, because some of those CGFX, prosthetics, and choreography were genuinely impressive. Oh no, I'm referring to the cast and crew other than Bella Fanning, Elle Magazine, Dakota Tatum. Whatever that ex-child actor's star's name is, she is the exception.
How old are you?
This, you literally just had to look up the Yautja language from some database. Yautja mature at the age of 60 and live to be hundreds of years old on average. Know this.
And what does the chewing? Your outside fangs or your inside teeth?
They're called mandibles, and they don't use those to eat. You know this already.
Oh, what should I call you? Oh! Whoa! I've never been.
How did you ascend that so fast? If you don't like Predator Badlands, then why did you keep watching it? Like, I don't know, David. Why don't you ask better questions? Hey, what? Are you a parent? Do you ever get irritated by your children? Well, if you do not like being a father, then why don't you just commit homicide or infanticide? If you don't like your kids at the moment, then just have a late-term abortion. Oh, it would be impractical and potentially immoral to do so. You don't say. Okay, so I have decided to address my subscribers toward the end of this video because I just wanted to thank you all for no reason in particular. You make this tedious job I love so much worth my while. Anyway, I sincerely thank you, my sole viewer, for watching. I love reading your comment. What can I say? It is just nice knowing that you guys do not click on the video and then immediately die of congenital heart failure or what have you. You know? It means that you have at least watched some of the video and lived long enough to comment something, and for that I'm grateful. I know I am so far off topic, but I will also quickly say that I have noticed some comments are a bit queer and not in the acceptable way. Their redolent odor is reminiscent of the sea's salty odor, which is a fancy way of saying that they are suspicious. Just a bit fishy. Will not assume that any one comment is spam or written by an AI bot, but I do want to say that I'm not registering my account anywhere but YouTube, and I guess perhaps Instagram, so yeah, I'm a bit confused as to why I would get spam comments at a channel of my size. I mean, there are like only 2 of us in here, so if my back gets scratched, then I know the person to whom I am indebted. Or I guess if my back gets scratched, then I know who just physically assaulted me because I did not need my back scratched and I didn't ask, so why would you do that? There is plenty of space in this room, but you get the point.